makes me feel old. It's been around for a long time, you know. Maybe you get better with age, I don't know. You know, I'll talk a little bit about this year because it's a little bit of a different year than we normally have. Normally when the spillways open, you know, usually open at the end of May, beginning of April or sometime in April. It usually takes about a month and a half to 2 months for the water to straighten back up again. So you start seeing fish more like in July, so they start coming back in. But this year when they opened it, and I'll still debate whether they had to open it, you know, because my feeling always was that they really, there's a group of people that want it opened all the time. Don't think it does any good. Might put a few more nutrients in the water, I don't know, we'll see. No, you're not going to see, the brown shrimp aren't going to make it into the lake. It's very, very similar. But this year, you know, they opened it up, didn't open it all the way up, didn't open it for that long, closed it back up relatively quick. So the water got out of there. And then we had I ended up with 18 inches on my dock one day, you know, with the wind blew up. And we pushed a lot of good water in. And, this is the earliest I've ever seen jellyfish around. Lake Catherine's got jellyfish in it right now. I've never seen them this early. I think it came because that early run, me and Mike were talking about it, you know, earlier. All of a sudden, you know, the trout showed up by the corner of the trestles. Now, normal times when we caught fish in March, you know, they were always, you know, 2.5 to 4 pound fish, occasional 5 and 6, and about 1 out of every 400 would be a 7 pound fish. But what happened this year was a bunch of little small fish in there, so it's like, you know, the generations are maybe starting to catch back up. It still felt like BP knocked a couple generations of fish out of there. But it started picking them up in the corner. But one of the things that, you know, I did, every time they open the spillway up, there's a corner in Lake Catherine. If you take the long point that comes off of Unknown Pass and you draw a line to Marquez Canal, for some reason that water always stays salty in that way. So I started going over there, you know, a couple months ago and just drifting the shoreline, throwing a cork, you know, working the shoreline, which is a little bit different for me. I used to always, you know, I'd rather tight line fish than any other way. But, you know, I started fishing with Ed Sexton down in Venice, and he will smoke you with a cork originally. You know, you go down that way and he's catching 5 to your 1, and then you look at it, and after a couple of years, I finally figured it out. I think the last 8 times, he doesn't get close to me anymore. Changed it up a little bit and all on it. You know, you go to Power Pro all the way up to the cork. From fishing in Texas, you know, I fished with guys in Texas and switch over to a 7.5, you know, foot rod, which is a little longer than we use. You can throw that thing a country mile. Fishing with, you know, usually with a straight tail dog. I like the straight tail way better than anything else. And he came up with what I'm going to pass around. I made a color. There was a color called Lime Truce. And he would always dip the tail. He dips it pink, and it would turn orange, and he would smoke them with it. And anytime you get that off-color water like we have now, you know, anywhere you have it, whether I fished in Empire, whether I fished in Venice, you know, whether I fished around Lake Pontchartrain, Lake Catherine, whatever. I always found when that water was, when you're in, you know, shallow enough water, when the water gets dirty, a cork works better. It keeps the bait more suspended for them. I don't think they can see it as well, but they can feel it. They feel that vibration of the cork. They think it's a shad. You know, when you pop a cork and you hear the shads pass by, you'll hear them hitting on top of the water. But when I would go with Ed up on him, you know, he like I said, originally he was the best cork fisherman ever. So I always used to say he could write his name with that cork out there when he popped it. Because, I mean, he just really moved it right. Then I started thinking, there's got to be a secret to this. And you get to work, and and all of a sudden you realize, well, he's out throwing me by 10 feet, you know. So then I go to Power Pro, I put on a longer rod now, I throw him by 20 feet now. The pickup's incredible with 7.5 foot rod. You know, it's amazing what you can catch. You know, out of Venice, you get where the Coast Guard cut is, you go back on them flats and then we're catching them 25 and 30, you know, pound redfish on a 7.5 foot rod. They come up, hit the cork, one hits the cork, one takes the bait. So it can handle the fish. But what has happened over time was I've got to the point where I almost enjoy fishing with corks. So that corner of Lake Catherine's been really, really, you know, good. Every time they open the spillway up, that water just stays a little bit saltier up in there. And then when we had all that wind came back through, the fish came back through there. But the lakes, you know, it looks to me like it's going to really, really turn on, you know, pretty soon. One of the problems you're going to have, which is every time you have a blow, like we've had the last few days, the water dirties up. And the water dirties up, you know, it used to be it would dirty up, you know, 8 hours later you can go back and fish it before the spillway. When all that silt comes back through it again, it usually takes about a day to clear back up again, maybe a day and a half. And then if you get a blow like we're having right now, one every so many days, sort of limits when you're going to get a good time out that way to fish. But the fish is still in there. They have never left. I'm not one to believe, for years people have always said the fish, when they come in, well, I do think they follow the shrimp and the pogies all into the lake. On tides, I've always said that we do better on an incoming time in April and May, and then on the opposite end of the beginning of end of August and the beginning of September is always better on an income time. Every other month I'd rather fish up in the fall time, and I've always felt like the reason why that is the little shrimp, the little bait. Some of the trout I had the other day, like that, a little bitty shrimp in them. They weren't brown shrimp, they were white shrimp. White shrimp can, they like that fresher water. And I think with that blow, it blew a lot of them in there. But, we're just getting to that cycle right now. If we have a lot of east winds come in, there's going to be, bait moving in and out of the lake. There's a lot of little bitty croakers out that way, 1.5 inches long. The spring should be, really, really good. And if they wouldn't have opened the spillway up this year, those fish probably would have stood in there all year. They would have never left. Aren't the size they used to be. But like I said, I think a couple generations are coming out of there. We're taken out of the system. I just think something happened in that way. We caught big fish after BP, and then all of a sudden it went down. We had a couple of classes of smaller fish, but nothing like we really should have had. Maybe the closing the Mystic Gold made a little bit of difference, but I don't really think so. But I think it's going to be a banner year overall. I think what I call guide fish, 1.5 to 2.5 pound fish. I think it'll be plentiful. One of the days I went with another guide, Hill Wagner. We just decided to make what I call a voyage. For me, I generally run to the Trestles or run to Lake Catherine. But we launched out of his place, and we went out in the lake and fished, caught a few fish in the lake. We went down to Mystigo, 3 places on Mystigo we caught fish, came back through the castle, hit the rocks to the left side of the castle, caught fish there, came back into Lake Catherine, caught fish into Lake Catherine. And it's pretty good when you catch fish in 7, 8 different spots when you go out. That proves it's just not one school of fish, but there's several schools of fish. That's fish I actually caught with by Martella's Castle. There's some really pretty fish in there. Caught them with a cork, And I used to tell people years ago I hated a cork. Now I'm starting to love it. I used to tell people I hated redfish. Now I'm starting to like it. The world changes over time, so we do move on. But I'm going to pass this bait. Plus I also have what I consider, and Mike is actually one to give me the idea of the color. My favorite color for years was opening night, and then Mike had thrown a bait to me one day and didn't get something close to this. I changed it up a little bit, but put a green tail on it. I love a green tail. Somebody asked about colored water. I use dark colors and dirty water, dark or really, really bright colors and clear colors when the water gets clear. When you get that water where you can see 3 or 4 feet in it, you better go with something that is really transparent. You can see through it. But it's called Mojo Mullet. I brought a bunch of samples of those. When y'all walk out, you can go pick up some there. That's been my favorite for probably, I don't know how long I made mine, 3 years ago. A couple of years, yeah. And it's hard to take it off. And people always ask me, what's your favorite color? It's one color I fish on. It's the nature of the beast. And it's funny because I never catch I make a new color, I never catch the first fish on a color. I'll make a color, I'll throw it on my dashboard, and when my customers picks it up, starts throwing it, he'll catch fish with it. And then I'll always sort of pay attention, then if you get a guy in the boat who hadn't caught fish, he picks up the color, starts catching fish. You think you might have some. Sometimes they fool you, sometimes they don't. But y'all have any questions? I'll answer any kind of questions you guys have.
You ever fish with live bait?
Yeah, I do.
How do you hook the croaker?
I hook them through the horn in the front.
Say again?
I hook them through the horn in the front. It's one of those kind of things as a guide.
Now, how do you hook your croaker?
I hook them through the top of the mouth. Yeah. But I mean, I don't think there's no perfect way to do anything because, I fish with Terry St. Cyr and Woodsy Toops and Ed Sexton. They're the best big trout fishermen in the state of Louisiana. And everybody hooks a little bit. Tony Bruce, he was on the boat with me when he caught the star-winning fish this year. And it was funny because all day he kept telling me, I don't know how to net fish. Never missed a fish all day. He said, you got to grab the back of the net when you net the fish. Well, he's got this fish, I think he was 780, whatever the starfish was this year. And so when I net the fish was 5 foot out from the boat, and I could see the hook in his mouth. And so I reached out and grabbed the fish, and as it's in the net, it comes off his hook. And he looked at me, I said, do you still think I net bad? He said, no, you can net all my fish. But I don't think there's no right or wrong way. He hooks them in the back, So I just don't think that it's there is no set way. And like with lines, you know, I'm a monofilament man, Lake Pontchartrain. If I fish with a cork, all the way up to the cork, I use braid. When I fish them rigs out in Venice, I go to power pro. You never get them out of it without the power pro. But you know, with us as a guide, you know, what has happened with us as a lure manufacturer, they make it now so you can get shrimp almost all year. And so what has happened is we used to have a direct season. We used to go, you know, if you started in January, you go January, February, March, April. Sometime in May or June, shrimp season would open and everybody would switch to, you know, shrimp. You go June, July, August, September, October would start off with the lure season. Now you go all year. Helps in one way because you can always go out and catch fish somewhere, you know, with live bait. Hurts in a little bit, you just don't sell quite as many lures because you had to fish them. But